Chair. You're done? Okay. I'll go ahead and call up the CEO of the Transportation Corridor Agencies, Mr. Michael Crayman, is in the audience, so we're talking about you, so your ears are burning. Come on up, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Board of Directors, just a couple of points to make. I agree with everything that's said today, and I'm really excited about the scoping phase of the environmental review process that we're going to be going into, where our board has clearly directed us to resolve these type of issues in that phase. That doesn't occur in the 4 to 5 year time frame. That will occur, prior to moving into technical studies and draft documents and things like that. So that's a very important phase. We also have a number of coordination steps are in place, recognizing how important that is in this process. Again, the roles here are Caltrans as the lead agency. That's a pretty important role. TCA is the sponsoring agency. Primarily we get the privilege of funding this work, but in addition to that, we're following the Caltrans process. We're looking at the alternatives, not only through the lens of a tolling agency, but as the sponsoring agency for that under the auspice of Caltrans as the lead agency. Very much respect Measure M, very much appreciate the working relationship at the staff level that we're developing on this project. I would just one point to make, because I think it's pretty important to this discussion, is we are on record and there is a letter that you hold from TCA assuring you that we will do nothing on the I-5 corridor where these Measure M concerns are without concurrence of your agency. So that's a pretty important piece of information that I think needs to be made a part of this conversation. Additionally, we have an executive oversight committee for this project that consists of Caltrans, the County of Orange, OCTA, and TCA. We have the project development team, which includes all of the cities and the technical staff from all of the agencies, as well as a city manager working group, which includes all of the cities to have discussions about this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Crayman. I'm looking at this item, this slide 5, converting Measure M funded lanes to hot lanes. And I got to tell you, I'm cringing a little bit. I mean, the voters were promised something, and this seems to be changing that. And Mr. Crayman indicated it would require concurrence of OCTA. I assume that means the board of directors of OCTA would have to have a vote on allowing that. And my grave concern is that if such a thing were to occur, a member of a resident of Orange County could say, "Hey, I voted on Measure M. I was promised something, and now it got built, and it got changed, shortly thereafter into something else." And there would accurately be an accusation of a bait and switch and things getting changed on them in violation of M2. And I just think that needs to be said very clearly, at least as one board member here, as the chairman this year, that is going to provoke a very strong response out of me anyway, that we can't do that. We can't be changing the promises that were made in Measure M2, and it's going to violate the public's trust in us, and that's sort of how I see it. But Director Hennessy.
Yeah, I guess in situations like this, there's a lot to take in this report, and I want to maybe ask some questions because I think it's important to have clarity in these kinds of matters. So it sounds like that we are building lanes, right, general purpose lanes, and TCA is talking about tolling general purpose lanes that we built on Measure M with Measure M funds. Is that correct? Mr. Broadkey?
No, Mr. Chairman and Director Hennessy, no. The TCA is not proposing to toll general purpose lanes.
Okay.
A portion of the project you see on here includes a HOV lane extension.
Correct.
It's not for the whole length of the project, but for a segment of it. The proposal is to toll that portion as well as do further widening beyond what is under construction right now.
You mean tolling the HOV lanes?
Right.
Got it.
This one, project Area C, this was a Measure M project that was open to traffic in 2018. That was nearly all an HOV lane project. So it extended the HOV lane down to to Pico. It was about a 6-mile project. That is proposed to be a high occupancy toll conversion through the TCA process, with additional widening included as some of the alternatives. So the answer to that one is yes for this segment.
But it's not, they would toll something built by M2, but it was a HOV lane,
HOV
just not a
lane.
general
Yeah,
purpose
yeah,
lane, what you
okay,
said.
I misspoke. Okay. It's, I guess the general point was, we keep this mantra of promises made, promises kept. And this, just kind of when I first read that, it sounded like a promise made and a promise undone by TCA, that we're using taxpayers' money. We promised them an HOV lane, and now we're going to make it an HOT lane. I guess that really concerns me that we're kind of have competing studies. Is that what I understand? There's an issue of competing studies. Mr. Brocky, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. So the planning process for the transportation core agencies occurred in a project study report that was signed by Caltrans in May of this year. We also had a project study report underway that started before the TCA process in here that would have extended the HOV lane south into this area. That project study report has not been signed by Caltrans.
So we had a project study underway, and while that was underway, TCA submitted a second study for the same area that was approved. I guess one question would be to Mr. Chamberlain, why would you do that? If you know somebody's already studying it and they've engaged you, why would you have a second study over that one and then approve that one over the first one?
Director Chamberlain.
So there's a lot of comments have been made, and maybe I'll take the opportunity to respond to the recent one from Director Hennessy and some others that have been brought up. Why would Caltrans be allowing 2 studies in the same court at the same time is how I received that question to me. And the answer to that is one is much more comprehensive and broader than the other. OCTA's PSR was very specific to I-5 corridor only. It was an HOV extension from Pico to County Line. That was initiated slightly prior to the full-blown PSR that TCA was doing. However, that was not submitted or started prior to the entire planning study that TCA had going on with the outreach efforts in South Orange County. So as a partner to both agencies, the department obliged both entities and allowed those studies to move forward. When it became clearly evident when I came back from Sacramento that there was 2 project alternatives in the same corridor at the same time, and TCA's PSR was ready for my district director's signature on it, and the OCTA PSR was delayed because of outstanding questions and concerns the department still had with weekend traffic-related analysis. I signed the document that was completed first with the direction to TCA and with discussions with the CEO that we are going to incorporate all of the scope in OCTA's PSR, which is the I-5 HOV extension to County Line, in the environmental document that TCA is moving forward with. 100% of that project scope is included in the TCA-sponsored, non-taxpayer-funded environmental impact report.